Well, good morning and welcome back to another edition of the Hiking Journal. Today's adventure is going to be about my trip out to Whale Peak at Anza Borrego Desert State Park. It was an exciting adventure. It was a lot cooler and cloudier than I kind of anticipated. Daytime high was only in the 50s, low 50s, and when we got up to the top, it was a little windier and chillier than I kind of anticipated. But as you'll find out later, it worked out great. It was a tough hike. It was a steep hike in sections. Half the adventure was just getting to the trailhead because I had to drive about 5 miles down this down Pinyon Mountain Road, which is more of a kind of a wash area in spots, sandy, narrow. Was rutted in sections. Had some boulders. I kind of had to negotiate, but having a Jeep, I made it no problem. So anyway. So I ended up doing the hike out to Whale Peak, and I think you'll really enjoy this episode. It's got some great views. It's got some cactus. It's got some pinyon pines, which was one of the things I was looking forward to. It's also got some juniper berries. So anyway, that'll all be coming up in this edition of the Hiking Journal. Anyway, I'm driving down Pinyon Mountain Road here in Anza Borrego Desert State Park. I know the sun is killing me here and the shadows, but hopefully I'll get around the corner here in a little bit and angle will change and you'll be able to see a little better. But so far it's been it's a little sandy. The ruts haven't been too bad. I honestly don't think I would ever do this in a regular two-wheel drive passenger car. I know some people have attempted it and made it, but there are some sandy sections. But right now I'm in four-wheel drive. I've got tires here down to about I'm averaging about 18 psi. I think one's at 18, one's at 16, one's at 19 or something. But you get the drift. I did air down the tires. That gives your tire a wider footprint and gives you a lot better traction in the sand. And I'm running four-wheel drive, so I shouldn't have any trouble whatsoever. When we were at the when I was at the turnoff there, Anza Borrego Desert State Park Ranger happened to come down this road in a pickup truck, and he said that. He asked if we went up there before and asked if we were going through the squeeze, and I told him I was. The other guy was. He's going to try it. I don't know if I got the balls to do the squeeze. Not by myself. Not without a spotter. Not without a live kit and lockers and all that. But he had a Rubicon, so he had all that, so he was okay. But and he had his wife with him, so maybe she was going to be the spotter. Who knows? But anyway, he said I shouldn't have any trouble getting to the Whale Peak trailhead in the Jeep, and that's a good thought. A little ease off my mind there. I was a little worried about that, but it doesn't sound like it's going to be too big an issue. In the meantime, I got to negotiate this really windy road. It's not really that bad. It's just that it's narrow, and this isn't a one-way. This is a both ways road. But Lord help me if a car or a Jeep or whatever comes the other direction, because there's not a whole lot of spots to pull over to let somebody pass. So anyway, I'll check back with you in a few minutes when we get a little closer to the Whale Peak trailhead. All right, well, I have made the turn off of Pinyon Mountain Road onto this road. It's not really a road per se, but this is what it looks like, the road that goes to the trailhead according to the map. I just pulled it up on the GPS. So I put my seatbelt on. I got to listen to this bing for the next 5 minutes. Hopefully there'll be a nice area for me to park up here, or at least a turnaround spot. Looks like I'm going to be heading up the wash here to go to Whale Peak. I don't think there's a sign for Whale Peak, but we'll see when we get there. I think I read somewhere, or I saw pictures of like a clearing. That might be a decent spot to park. I guess we'll find out here in a second. Looks like I'm running out of wash here, so okay, here's a little turnaround. Let's see what this says. Fire and metal containers only. So I think this is probably going to be my my parking spot. I believe my trail is right there. I'll check my check my GPS here in a second. I just got to negotiate this little spot here without running into the brush. Go back in here, a nice area this way in case somebody else comes up in this direction. They'll have a spot to park as well. There's nobody here but me, so looks like this could be it. Well Peak Trailhead. Well, I made it out here to the official Whale Peak Trailhead. Pinyon Mountain Road comes from way down this way, and it heads due south along the sandy wash. It's got some twisted turns, it's got some ruts, it's got some big boulders. I made it out here in a stock Jeep for the most part. I do have bigger tires, but I don't have a lift kit or anything. Made it out here no problem. I drove actually past the turnoff to the trailhead here. Had to back up a little bit, that was fun. Then I made it, this road here was actually pretty nice. So I made it up to here. It looks like it continues up this way. Should be, it's about 9:40. So it's about almost 3 miles to the peak, the top of Whale Peak. Let's see how I do. Looks like it's a little cloudy today. I didn't think it'd be cloudy. I thought it'd be crystal clear, but anyway, let's get started up the trail. Up the top of Whale Peak, out here in Anza Borrego. Well, I started up the wash just right over there. Went this short little distance, went through some boulders, came to my first good look at a juniper. These are juniper berries. They used these to make the juniper latte back in the day. These are edible. Besides junipers today, we're hoping to get a good look at some of the pinyon pines. They're single leaf pines with pine nuts. They're edible. See if I find some. I'm sure I will. Boy, they're making me pay pretty quick here. This is some rough going. It's steep, and you got a little bit of route finding challenges to get around this, but so far it's been okay. Well, if you look hard, you'll see just the tip of the Jeep sticking out. This is the short distance I've come so far. I've had to do some boulder scrambling already. And it looks like I'm going up that way somewhere. I gotta start looking for some cairns. I do have it on all trails, so we'll see how that helps or not. All right, well, now you can get a better view of, that's the side trail that comes off Pinyon Mountain Road. It goes to the trailhead, and that's where the Jeep is parked. And just in this first couple hundred yards, you can see how far I've come up already. And you do have a view off to the east. You can see the very edge of the Salton Sea. And I'm going to be going up this way. Got to find my way past this down tree right here. Looks like I just duck underneath right there, maybe. Boy, this is some steep, rough stuff here. Really gotta watch your foot placement. Lots of cracks in the boulders. There's a little bit of drop. You don't want to get stuck in a wedge right here. And I'm working up a sweat already. Whew. Well, this has been a tough climb so far. Climbing up through those boulders. I had to crawl up on my hands and knees a couple spots, but the reward is I see some blue sky, so hopefully it'll level off just a tad when we get up there, and we'll be going through more of a deserty wash section and not so much a boulder filled and choked wash. We're getting there, slowly but surely. Well, this is what I was looking forward to, this open desert. This will be some nice hiking. Looks like there must have been a fire come through here at one point. There's quite a bit of dead brush, but well, I tell you what, that first section back there, that's enough to make you want to change your mind and head back to the car. Go to Borrego Springs and have a beer. That's pretty tough. I only saw one cairn. You can kind of tell where you're going. You can see the footprints. And you can kind of generally tell where you're headed, but I'm going this way. Can't see Whale Peak. It must be down and around. There's two hills, smaller hills, lesser hills to the right of me, and one to the left, and it's not either any of those, so it's got to be around the corner. Well, you know, it is getting a little later in the winter. It's not quite spring yet, but it's getting there. And I've seen some trip reports. Some of the snakes are coming out as little baby rattlers. So who knows? If it warms up a little bit, that sun comes out, maybe we'll get lucky. Still out of breath. Whew. Who says the desert's not pretty? I think it is. Some magnificent boulders and some magnificent cactus, that's for sure. Maybe we'll get lucky. See some wildlife today, especially since there's nobody on the trail but me. You know, I was looking at some of the trip reports in the Desert USA wildflower status page, and they had it 7 out of 10. Well, it must not be this spot. I think it's maybe the little higher elevation makes a difference. Who knows? But it looks like I'm going to be going through the wash, or whatever that is, down there. So I work my way down, way off in the distance. I still don't see anything that looks like Whale Peak from here. I do see something, but it's 10 miles away. I know that's not it. You can see my trail right there. That's over that ridge. Goes to that little notch. Dropped straight down that dry wash down to the car. Came up that, worked my way down across that trail. And then now they have me coming straight up here. I don't really see the reasoning for it. There's a continuation of my trail right there. Maybe once I get over this peak, this ridge line, I'll see down to another valley, and maybe then I'll get my first glimpse of Whale Peak. But in the meantime, I gotta catch my breath and get up this little rocky section right here. You know, as I'm working my way up to the top of Whale Peak up here in the Pinyon Mountains, the last trip report that I read was just from a few days ago. One word: Karens. Now I know what they mean. There's a lot of little funky little game trails that split and meander through different ravines and washes, and you got to kind of pay attention. But I've been fortunate enough that people have placed some pretty good Karens. I've seen, especially in this last 100 yards, probably 7 or 8 Karens. That's keeping me on track. Hopefully, when I get to the top up here, it'll level off just a little bit. Well, it looks like I've come across my first pinyon pine. This is a pinyon pine right here. And how you can tell that it's a pinyon pine, hopefully I won't mind, it has a single needle. Doesn't have needles of 3 or 4, and they're about 1.5 inches long, I guess. But what it also has inside these, which will eventually be cones, will be pine nuts. And the Native Americans in this region, and probably all over the Southwest, used to harvest. They used to harvest the pinyon pine cones, and they would roast them over a fire and heat them up until they cracked open and they got the pine nuts out of them. And they would either grind them into a meal or a paste, or they would just roast them and they just eat them raw. If you ever had pine nuts on your salad, you know how good those are. And they get them from right here on this pinyon pine, the namesake of the Pinyon Mountains out here in Anza Borrego Desert State Park. How cool is that, huh? My first pinyon pine. Well, this is what I'm talking about. This is my kind of desert hiking. Got a nice open trail, decomposed granite, and fairly low. I mean, it's uphill, but it's like such a small incline you really don't even notice. And I'm going to go to the top of a little rise here, and it looks like I might drop down, and Whale Peak could be over to my left. I don't know. I'll have to check the All Trails route. And you know, it's a good thing that All Trails is in existence. I'm going to show you this here. Show you where I'm at here. As soon as I get my phone to unlock. And hopefully you can see that. Blue dot is where I am. And top of that green line is where I got to go. All Trails, man. If you don't have it, you don't have the pro version, you need to get it. You can download these tracks for offline use, and they're awesome. All Trails, man. Do it. Well, wouldn't you know it? This peak right here, you can see it right there. That is not Whale Peak. Wouldn't you know it? I just checked my Garmin GPS and looked at All Trails again. And that peak that I was hiking toward in the distance, I skirted the right side of it and went around it. Now I'm going up another wash. I just passed Smuggler's Canyon, and now I'm working my way further to the right. Looks like it levels out a little bit after this. I got a really short but steep section to the top of Whale Peak. I'm still not that far, but I thought I was there. A bummer. Well, I just came up another rise, and lo and behold, I think that's Whale Peak right there. Whew. I don't know how I'm going to get there, but significant distance away, and it's good 500 feet or more up in a very short distance. So, going to be a steep climb. It'll be a short climb, but it'll be a steep climb. Well, I believe, finally, that is Whale Peak behind me. Up there. Looks like I'm going to go this way and then work my way to the right. Go up that steep section. But there have been 3, if not 4, false summits. And I kind of wasn't prepared for that. I kept climbing up through a wash, and I'd get to the top, and that ain't it. And I'd go down in a little valley, and I'd climb up another wash, and I'd say, oh, I can see the blue sky, that's it. That's not it either. So this is like my 3rd or 4th one. But according to the GPS, I'm getting real close. So I probably got to go over here. It looks like, according to the map, I work my way to the right to that notch and go up from the right side. So we'll see. Oh, who knows? Maybe it's another false summit. But I'm getting tired now. It's a little harder than I thought it'd be for a 5-mile round trip hike, you know? Well, here's a pretty good view looking north and a little bit to the east. So I'm working my way up Whale Peak. Trail so far hasn't been too bad. We got to go up there. So cross my fingers it stays like this. It does have a good view. It's clouding up. I don't know why. Not supposed to rain today or the next whole week. You know, there's all kinds of varied desert plant life out here. In fact, that's a desert agave right there. They use the agave, they roast those and make tequila. There's some Gander's cholla right there. There's quite a bit of that on the trail as you work your way up to the top of Whale Peak. And those juniper berries, they harvest those and they use those as one of the primary ingredients for gin. You know, I'm looking forward to getting up to the top here because I've got some lunch and I've got a beer. I might not have a beer, but I have some coffee fixings. I want to take a good long break, good half hour at least. Give me something to eat. I haven't had anything to drink since I left the trailhead, so I'm getting thirsty. I'm not too far from the top though. I'll rehydrate. I got plenty of water, so I'll rehydrate once I get up there. This is the steep part though. This is the end. Well, this is what I got left. But at least now we have a tremendous view looking off to the west. Down in the bottom. Way down there is S2 highway. That's not where we're going though. We're going to go straight up to the top. All right, I'm taking a break. This last part is steep. And to give you an idea of what the view I have, check this out. That's looking due west. As I slowly spin around to the right, that's where I've come from, way off in that direction. In fact, actually way off in the far distance in the clouds, you can actually see San Jacinto. Hopefully, once we get to the top, you'll get a great view of the Salton Sea and Imperial Valley. But in the meantime, I gotta catch my breath, man. This sucker is steep. It's like using your hands steep. And it's even gonna be tough going down. I don't wanna slip, you know what I mean? Kind of in the middle of nowhere. There's nobody here but me, nobody at the trailhead but me. It's not a good spot to get hurt, but I'm gonna get some great shots, I think, from up here once I get there. Still don't know where these clouds are coming from. Well, I am almost at the top. Boy, that last scramble was a butt kicker, believe me. But it looks like I've got a fairly level stretch here. So I'm working my way over to the actual summit. I crested the top of the peak, the summit block or whatever over there, but this is just a tad bit higher, and this must be where the sign is and the sign-in register. So I'm gonna go look for that. I still see tad bits of like a used trail, so kind of meanders around in different places. I did get off trail just a tad because, you know, just because there's cairns doesn't mean they're correct. You know what I mean? Several different routes to get up here. I don't think the one I took was the best one. In fact, this right here looks like the summit. There's a, in fact, here it is. There's a little coffee can right there. And there's my sign, Whale Peak, elevation 5349. I made it. Whew, a little harder than I thought. In fact, here's the benchmark. Take a look at that real quick. Good a spot as any. Sign the register up here at Whale Peak. Looks like they've got a pin. And let's see. There's quite a few logs in here. Let's see. That says 2022, 2021, 2024. Whale Peak. How's that? I got a right in the rain. That's nice. Let's see when the last person was up here. I got my readers here. Yeah, it looks like there were a couple of people here yesterday. Lindsay and Alex were here. And looks like Sam was here as well. So I'm going to add my name to the list. So I wrote my name and tough final scramble, which it was. Stick that back in the can. Keep it nice and dry. Put it back under the log. I was just making sure that wasn't a snake. I thought it was a snake shit. It kind of scared me a little bit. Anyway, I gotta go find a spot out of the wind. It's windy right here and it's cold, so I'm gonna get my windbreaker out, find a spot to cook some lunch. Well, since I got my Trangia set up over here and it is a little windy, I'm gonna see if I can get it lit with just the spine of this Opinel number 8. Actually, this might even be a number 9, and a ferro rod that I have. There we go. Didn't take much. Once I get it to blossom, I'm going to put on my canteen cup. I'm just going to make me some coffee. We'll start off with coffee, I think. I think I'm going to do some avalanche cappuccino. What do you think? And then afterward, I'm going to do some top ramen. I'll just cook that right here in the old military canteen cup. It's a little windy, so when you're using a Trangia or any alcohol stove, you really need the windscreen. So hopefully this will work pretty good. I only have about 8 ounces of water in there, so it shouldn't be too bad. Well, right now I'm having a cup of avalanche cappuccino, and meantime I'm heating up about 8 ounces of water, I guess, for some top ramen. I'm gonna slice up some Spam and put that in the top ramen to give me a few extra calories. And actually, it's not top ramen; it's a cup of noodles. So I'm gonna cook that right in the old canteen cup up here in the top of Whale Peak. You know, the ranger that I talked to, he said it was pretty chilly up here. Kind of know what he means now. It's you know, it's temperature-wise, it's probably 50. In fact, the daytime high was only like 51 today, but that breeze is about 10 miles an hour or so with gusts of 15 or 20. So that definitely makes a big difference. There's a good view over this direction. I'll take you over there in a minute, and we'll get a good view of the Salton Sea and areas to the south and the east. But in the meantime, I'm going to take a break. I deserve it. I got to get caught up on my hydration. I'm going to drink my coffee, have a cup of noodles with some Spam in it, maybe drink about 16 ounces of water, maybe more. I think I'm going to save the beer for the ride back. This is a tough hike. Distance-wise, it's not that far. It's only like 5.5, 5.4 or 5.6 round trip, but it's steep. It's really steep in spots. There's nobody else up here. I'm the only one. And I don't know where these clouds are coming from. It's kind of strange because it was supposed to be really clear today. Anyway, in a couple seconds here, I want to start cooking up my Spam, and I'll throw it in the pot, let it hydrate a little bit. Well, it's already hydrated. It's not dehydrated, but it's at least let it warm up before I throw the noodles in there. But this coffee, this cappuccino tastes good on a cold, windy day. And it's still hot. So I've got this little cutting board. This cutting board is actually made out of a mesquite. We actually bought this, or I did, years ago out in just south of Tucson. We went to an old mission, and they had, it's almost at a boil. I'm going to throw some of this in there real quick. I think I'm going to throw almost all of it in there. I'll save this one big chunk for me. I want to eat that sucker right now. The old Spam single. I know it's not good for you, but sure tastes good. Well, this is from the top of Boulder, above Whale Peak. That's my little makeshift lunch spot right there. I think my top ramen is boiling. But there's 2 more benchmarks. There's one on that rock right there, and there's one on the other one right there. And this is our view, looking to the south. That is the Salton Sea. It's kind of in the haze, so it's kind of hard to see. You can see the valley down below there. I'll spin around, do a complete 360 here. San Jacinto's way off in the distance. What a great view from up here, huh? And I do have quite the boil going on, so I need to take this off the fire and then put in my my cup of noodles and let it sit and hydrate. Well, a cup of noodles on the peak of Whale Peak. Very hot. And it looks like my my cooking is attracting some bees. Bee here, bee over there. At least the wind kind of died down, at least where I am right here in this little spot. This is still too hot to eat. I just don't want the bees to get it. Well, what'd you think of this episode? The hike up to Whale Peak. I still got to hike down, and it's going to be tough. But most of it is downhill. There is one or two sections where I will have to, you know, scamper up a steep slope. But then, of course, I've always got that boulder choked wash at the end that's going to require some scrambling. But at least I'm going down and not up. As long as I keep my eye out on those cairns. Those cairns are invaluable. I mean, you can kind of see where people go. There's spots where you can see a little bit of dirt and you can see footprints, but for the most part, you just kind of make a beeline through the cairns. But I did notice at the end here, I went to the left. There was cairns on the left and cairns on the right. I went to the left, and I think the guy on the left wasn't as good at route finding as the guy that went right, because the way I went was pretty tough. So, but I made it up here, and I just gotta finish my cup of noodles here with Spam in it and get caught up on my hydration, and then start working my way back. I still have to make that 5-mile drive across that rocky and sandy road to get back to the highway. And as long as no one's coming the other direction, I should be fine. Oh, and also, what did you think about that hour-long episode up to High Point, huh? That was an hour-long episode. That was the longest episode to date, I think. And hopefully you stuck it out and made it all the way to the end. And I'll try not to keep them that long. Usually 30 minutes is about all I'm good for. So that one just happened to be a little longer of a hike and a little tougher of a hike. So, but this one's tough too. They're all tough. As you get older, they're all tough. But anyway, I'm gonna finish this, start packing up, cleaning up, have a couple of swigs out of my canteen, then I'm gonna start heading down from the top of Whale Peak out here in Anza Borrego Desert State Park in San Diego County. Well, anyway, don't forget to click and subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you get the latest updates to the channel when I post them. And I don't know what's next. I have a feeling that I might try to do something a little different. Kind of a trail run that's not so much on a trail, but it's a 21-mile loop around Diamond Valley Lake during the wildflower bloom. So I'm waiting for the peak of the wildflowers, and it'll give me a few more weeks to get in a little better shape. Maybe I can drop a few pounds between now and then and make it a little easier on myself. So I might be doing that next, who knows. Well, if you wondered how steep this final climb is, see that little tan sliver? That's our trail. Way down there. We've got to get from here to there in about 100 yards. It's going to be steep. I brought out my leather gloves for this one. Thank God for the cairns, huh? Well, I'll tell you what, that was a hard hike. That was one of the longest 5.5 miles I've ever seen. Let's see. With the GPS clocked 5.05, which I'm kind of surprised at, because it seemed a lot farther than that. Oh man, tell you what, ice cold drink sounds pretty good right now. That last half mile coming down that wash right there, that's some serious boulder climbing there. Oh man. Now. Now I got to drive 5 miles out down Pinyon Mountain Road, and it's pretty narrow, and it's rocky in spots, so hopefully nobody's coming out. It's a Monday in the afternoon, so I think everybody that wanted to come out here has been here and gone back already. And the good thing is I'll probably be able to see dust a little ways off, so hopefully if somebody's coming up, they'll pull over or I'll pull over, because there's spots where it's single lane and there's no passing. So anyway, so I'll take a few minutes here and I'll catch my breath and have my beer. I've got soda, I've got some coconut water, I've got a Gatorade, I've got an energy drink, all in this ice chest right here. So I got plenty to get me back to the highway, and then I got about an hour and a half drive home. So I was really surprised at the clouds. I couldn't believe it was this cloudy out here. But anyway, by the time this airs, it'll be after St. Paddy's Day, so I hope you enjoyed St. Paddy's Day safely. And enjoy that spirit of the Irish. I'm going to be wearing my kilt. We're going to go to a pub. I'm going to wear my kilt. Maybe I'll throw this in on the very end of this episode. You might like that. Well, I'm not too far from the highway. Should be there in a couple minutes. But I'll tell you what, these jackrabbits that are running across the road in front of me, those suckers are huge, man. They look like the size of coyotes. They're like 25-pound jackrabbits. I don't think I've ever seen jackrabbits that big. I've seen 3 just in the last 5 minutes going down this little sandy road. You can see civilization in the background there in the distance. So I'm not that far from the highway. Once I get to a decent spot here, I'll pull over and I'll get out the compressor and I'll air the tires back up. The factory specs, about 32 PSI, 35, somewhere in there. I'll have to check the door jamb and see what it is. But looks like unless something horrible happens in the next 5 minutes, I should be back on the highway, and I'll be out of the Jeep airing up the tires. Well, that's the one thing about going off-road. You got to air down your tires to go from the 35 PSI, which is what they recommend for highway driving, down to about 16 to 18, 20 PSI for going off-road. And there's 2 reasons for that. One, it gives your tire a wider footprint, so it has better grip in sand, soft dirt. The other reason is it's a lot softer ride, so it's easier on your kidneys. So I'm going to pump this up to about 35 PSI and do all 4 tires and then get back on the road. Well, what'd you think about this this hike? This hike out to Whale Peak and Anza Borrego Desert State Park. It was quite the adventure. The road to get there was an experience. That was a little bit of a nerve-wracking experience for me because it wasn't so much the terrain, because the Jeep can handle it, but it was really narrow. And I kept thinking when I was driving out there, what if a car comes from the other way? You know, there's very few places to pull over to allow a vehicle to pass. And it's not a good place to be backing up, especially when you really can't see out your back window in a Jeep. So, but that ended up being a little more adventurous than I thought. And the hike was a little tougher than I imagined. I knew distance-wise it wasn't that far. It was only 5 miles. But and the elevation gain was about 1,500 feet, which doesn't sound too bad. But when you realize that it all came in really short little sections, and there were plenty of spots where I had to use my hands. And there were also 3 false summits that I didn't read about in any of the trip reports. And it was also a lot colder than I originally anticipated. I thought it, would seem pretty warm out in the desert. It's desert. But the daytime high was only 51 or 52, and then when you get to the top, that breeze is blowing, and since you're about the highest thing up there, you're feeling it. But I was fine, and I managed to go up to the summit and come all the way back. I only ran into one group of hikers, just a few hundred feet from the summit, and what I discovered after talking to them was they had come up from a different route. They had taken the trail from the Pictograph Trail down on the west side of Smuggler's Canyon. They had gone up Smuggler's Canyon. And even though I complained that my hike was 5 miles, their hike was 10. And probably had a hell of a lot more elevation gain than mine. And the other thing that I thought was interesting was they were all significantly older than me. I think the average age was probably 70. And other than the first couple that were like mountain goats climbing up, the other ones were having a little bit of difficulty, and I don't blame them. But that's the only people I saw. Anyway, the other thing I wanted to talk about was I've had a lot of trouble with my shoulder over the years. I first dislocated it in an accident, and I was in the military. And since then, it's probably dislocated, and I'm not exaggerating, 20, 30 times. I've had full dislocations. I've had what they call partial subluxations, where it starts to come out and you kind of catch it. You can kind of put it back in yourself. But I've had probably a handful, 5 or 6 really good dislocations where I had difficulty putting the shoulder back in myself. So this last one happened right after our trip out to, we were out in Joshua Tree. And my arm dislocated in my sleep. So that's when you know it's time. When your arm gets dislocated and you get injured while you're sleeping, and you know it's time to finally do something about it. So I went to my doctor. He referred me to an orthopedic surgeon. He did an MRI and a CAT scan. And he did all that and basically determined that I have a labral tear. I've got a Hill-Sachs deformity, which is from the accident, actually. And I've also got a lot of other things going on, too. So he's going to have to do what they're calling a shoulder capsulization rehabilitation. So it's pretty significant. And I'm going to be wearing this really ridiculous, overly bulky and tight shoulder sling for 4 to 6 weeks at a minimum. I can't move my arm at all, so all my hikes are definitely out during that period. And from the time of the surgery until I'm about 85, 90% recovered, it's going to take 6 months. So this summer is going to suck. But I'm going to make the best of it, because what I'll invest in over the next few months will come back tenfold later on in life. So I'm kind of looking forward to it. I'm a little nervous. I've been watching a lot of videos on recovery times and shoulder exercises, and the more I watch, the more nervous I get. So, but anyway, we'll see what happens. It's coming up, and by the time this episode airs, my shoulder surgery will probably most likely be completed, and I'll be in the beginning of the recovery process. But I am going to try to do one more hike before for the surgery. I'm going to try to squeak out one more. I got to get up to the South Lichen Trail in Palm Springs. That's where all the bighorn sheep are. I've been talking about those bighorns for 3 hikes in a row now, and this is the best chance I think I'm ever going to have to see bighorns, is going to be on the Lichen Trail. So anyway, that'll be coming up probably next week, like the week before my surgery. So anyway, take care. Have a good spring, as it finally started to be spring. We finally started heat. Today's the first day I've worn shorts. First day I've worn shorts in 6 months. So I'm looking forward to that. And I'm looking forward to the hike up the South Lichen Trail. And I hope you enjoyed my hike up to Whale Peak. If you ever get a chance to go out to Anza Borrego Desert State Park, make sure you make a trip up to Whale Peak. It's worth it. It's tough, but it's worth it. And it's fun, too. So anyway, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. And be sure and, watch all of my videos and see if there's something in there that you like, or a trail that you maybe thought about going to, but you weren't sure if you could make it. Kind of research, on all trails, and research some of the videos that I've done, and maybe something will pique your interest. And now that the weather's getting really, really nice outside, now's the time to do it before it gets too hot for the summer. Well, anyway, take care, and I'll see you down the trail. Bye-bye.